Gina Girouard is a nurse educator, clinical director, and acupuncturist who lives in Kingston, Mass. Tiff Phillips invited her onto our Open Here podcast.
So I'm with Gina Girouard, who's a licensed acupuncturist. Welcome. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Tiff.
So what led you to this field?
Tiff, for most of my adult life, I was in a different career, but on the side, I would take care of my family. So I would be a caregiver to my husband, my children, and my mother, who lived with us until she passed at 93. During that time, they all experienced different Western diagnoses and health conditions, and we would seek out care through Western medicine. But I always was frustrated with um, either the answers I was receiving, or I felt that there was more that could be done. So I constantly integrated with Eastern medicine in different forms. One of the most prominent form was the acupuncture, which is under the umbrella of Chinese medicine. So that led me to experiencing acupuncture as a patient or a family member of a loved one who's receiving acupuncture, and I saw the benefits there. And then there was a point in my life when I was a seeker of trying to fulfill, I think, a need to do something greater than what I was doing before. And I ended up meeting a gentleman who is my mentor. His name is Jimmy Chung Duong. He's an acupuncturist in Hanover. And when I met him, he spoke about the medicine in a way that no other acupuncturist had ever spoken to me about it. And right away, I decided to go to acupuncture school.
Before we get really in depth, can you give a quick overview of how acupuncture works for those of us who don't know?
Sure. So in a very simple answer would be acupuncture reduces inflammation and it promotes healthy circulation to the balanced areas. It also is considered a neuromodulator, so it affects the nervous system as well. So it's a comprehensive system of medicine. So it can be used for any imbalance in the body, any system that's out of balance. And we use these points. There are traditional pathways or meridians or channels that are, it's like a map. And we study that, and then we learn about the point location based on anatomy and physiology. And those points have actions. And so we know when we combine the points, what to expect in a patient's. It's a holistic approach. So it's body, mind, and spirit. So we know what to expect with those points. But that's, the system of traditional Chinese medicine, which is the system of these meridians or channels. There's other systems. So there's an orthopedic system where we find points based on trigger point or nerve innervation areas. So that might be a pain condition. And we can insert points in those areas too. And then there are other theories. So it's just there's multiple theories that we combine to get the results.
What kind of accreditation do you have to get to become a licensed acupuncturist?
That's one of my favorite questions because I didn't know the answer either. So here in the United States and in most states, and we're in Massachusetts, you need a minimum of a master's level degree. We're lucky to have one of the best programs here in Massachusetts, in Worcester. So that's where I went, is Mass College of Pharmacy and Health Sciences, MCPHS. They have their master level programs and doctoral programs in Worcester. It is a 4-year master's program, but it's accelerated to 3 years. So that's the education portion of it. So the accreditation portion comes with, there is something called third-party accreditation. And in our industry, it's NCCAOM, and that's a national commission that administers these board exams. And there are 4 medical boards that we take if we're going to have a degree in acupuncture like mine is. But there are colleagues of mine that get a dual master's degree, and with that, they're allowed to sit for a 5th medical board and become a licensed acupuncturist and herbal medicine practitioner. Oh, and finally, here in Massachusetts, um, the acupuncturists are licensed under the Board of Registration in Medicine, and there are only two professions licensed under that board: MDs and acupuncturists.
Wow.
Yeah.
So there's a lot that goes into
There's a
it.
lot. Yes.
What should a patient expect on their first visit? Is it usually a consultation?
Yep. This is a general answer. It can't apply to every clinic. Um, but typically, there is some paperwork that precedes the visit. So we send out electronically a health history questionnaire. We're looking for, patients' main concerns, secondary concerns, but we go in depth to every system so that we can use that to create. The language is a pattern. We're creating patterns um, in a patient. So even if a patient's coming in for one condition, maybe postoperative knee surgery, they have edema that's been going on for 7 months after a total knee replacement. So we obviously will be asking questions about their knee surgery, but we'll also we want to know other systems of the body as well. So this is a full in-depth questionnaire. Then on the initial visit in my clinic and in most clinics, but not all clinics, you'll have a conversation with your acupuncturist about that health history questionnaire. And you will have an opportunity to ask any questions. And then in that initial visit, you'll receive a treatment as well.
What kind of questions should a patient be asking when they go in?
I think that for patients, one of the important questions is, do you think I'll benefit from this treatment? For this, usually patients have a Western diagnosis that they're trying to either resolve or improve. And they usually have sought out Western medicine prior to coming in. And that can include diagnostic imaging. It often includes physical therapy. And so they want to know, can this help my condition? And I consider myself a general practitioner. So I see patients from many different conditions, but sometimes there are practitioners that don't practice a particular area. For instance, fertility is a big area. And that there are practitioners that don't treat patients that come for fertility support. Oncology, that's another one. There are practitioners that don't treat patients that are under an oncologist receiving care through an oncology team in the West. So that's an example. There are some practitioners that don't do orthopedic style, which I think that most acupuncturists certainly deal with pain, but there are more Western styles to the acupuncture, and some acupuncturists don't do that. So I think it's important that more than what should they ask, it should be a listening time in that initial visit, so that they can get a sense about the acupuncturist, and then experience the treatments about 3 or 4 times before they make a decision. Is this person a good match for me? Because acupuncture can meet many people's needs, but it's more about, is the individual a good fit?
Right. I was actually surprised that acupuncture can help with fertility. Is there any other conditions you think that people would be surprised about that is benefited by acupuncture?
So I'm going to indirectly answer that question. Most patients come for pain conditions.
Okay.
Or they'll come for mental emotional support. So their stress response is imbalanced. They might use the word, I have anxiety, I have depression, and acupuncture can support them. Many patients are already on a pharmaceutical and they come in, and what they're looking to do is they don't want to increase their pharmaceutical use, or they want to lower their pharmaceutical dependence. Or they're happy where they're at in terms of pharmaceuticals, but they want to do something natural to help bring balance, because the even though it maintains them at a certain level, it doesn't give them the best version of themselves they'd like to be. So that's what most people come to us for. But then when I dive in with the health history questionnaire, I see imbalances in their urinary system. I'll see imbalances in their GI system that they wouldn't have expected. And then some patients don't realize there's this mental emotional support we can give. So they're here for maybe knee pain, but then I realize their sleep is impacted and it may have to do with their stress response. So that's another area too that we treat.
So it seems to me that more and more insurance companies are now providing coverage for acupuncture. Why do you think that is?
Yep. I think it's a demand. Well, there's two parts to it. So the opioid crisis that happened, not so far past, is where the communities, the Western medicine communities, have to respond with non-pharmacological interventions to support their patients.
Hmm.
And really, the biggest one they have out there is physical therapy. That's under the umbrella of Western medicine. So more and more Western MDs are frustrated with the limited choices and are seeking out other alternatives. But I think it's really also driven by, at least on the level of patients coming in, it's patients are more educated and they say, well, there's something else out there, and it's acupuncture, and my friend has it, or my colleague receives it, and I'd like to try it. So I think the insurance company might be motivated by that as well. And you are correct. Most major insurance companies, at least in Massachusetts, most major insurance companies have many plans that have acupuncture benefits on them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is acupuncture a replacement for pharmaceuticals?
Yeah. So it's not a replacement, although there are patients that will receive acupuncture and then report back to their prescribing provider. So I'll give you two examples. I'll give you an example of a patient on hypertension medicine, so high blood pressure, and a patient that has a thyroid imbalance. So those patients are both on pharmaceuticals for their Western diagnosis. They come to an acupuncturist and they want additional support. One of the points I make to them is that if we're working on this condition directly, then they need to be aware and monitor their state. So with the hypertension patients, I ask them to monitor their high blood pressure. And with the patients with the thyroid imbalance, I ask them to make sure they get regular blood work, because the treatments, and if they choose to do herbal medicine, the treatments of acupuncture along with the herbal medicine can change their state for the better, which means they have to lower the dose of their pharmaceutical. Obviously, they lower the dose with the guidance of the prescribing provider, but that's important.
Do you love what you do?
I love what I do.
You seem it. You seem so invested. I love that.
Yes, I do love what I do. It's very rewarding to have a patient in your care, and in 1 to 8 visits, you can see change for the better in that person. And you can see changes in ways that they may not have expected, which is a bonus. And you can see changes with their main concerns. So it's very much like an instant gratification. Most patients leave the clinic feeling better than when they came in.
That must be so
It is.
gratifying.
It certainly is, yeah.
Where do you see the future of acupuncture going from here?
I believe that, I believe the trajectory of more and more insurance companies will cover acupuncture, which will create more and more demand for acupuncture. I think to survive, acupuncture needs to be more integrated into Western medicine. So the setup at Mass College of Pharmacy, I think, is ideal, where you have a fully Eastern medicine program, but it's run alongside Western medicine students, so that we can each benefit from the other's experiences. And I think those schools will survive. Some of the smaller acupuncture schools do struggle. But acupuncture has been around for 2,500 years. I don't think it's going anywhere. I think there might be an ebb and a flow, but especially if patients are seeking conditions that they either have want to avoid pharmaceuticals, want to reduce their dependency on pharmaceuticals. They have gone to another, maybe a sentence patients will say to me is that I've tried everything and this is my last resort, which is frustrating to hear, because I would hope that they had received care and gotten better. But either way, they come to us and then they find out there is another option that they didn't have open to them. So I think we're going to be around for a long time.
And I'm glad to hear it. Learned so much today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me, Tiff.
Hey friend, thanks for stopping by. If you like this video by The Local Scene, share the love and give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe.